Chapter 5, Young Hearts. Young Hearts. Start. The moment the word was given, the man charged. He swung his sword from the get-go. The blade that cut through space. He approached aggressively, swaggering. I didn't rashly mix my sword with his. I just inserted my sword into his sword path. Thud. I deflected it, slipped away, and maintained distance. Dutto. The man, who had paused for a moment, chuckled. You're a fencer, huh? Keeping distance, how cute. Is cute his catchphrase? Anyway, his words are correct. The swordsmanship I learned from UTV, so is a fencer. A fencer is a swordsman who strikes and retreats based on a sharp sense of distance and agile footwork. It's a term derived from fencing, and if compared to boxing, it's similar to an outboxer. Ridiculous. He muttered and stomped heavily on the ground. It was a tremendous first step with a wide stride. I saw his charge with my eyes, and my body reacted first. My right hand swung the sword. But the target of the attack was not the sword. It was the space he was approaching. Chang. A fairly loud resonance. The opponent, who had retreated a few steps, touched the blade with a stiff face for a moment. Did you just copy me? He asked. I didn't answer. Earlier, he tried to control the space rather than the person, and I briefly followed his method. It was a natural manifestation of look-see-do. I'm asking. However, I can't let him be on guard. To him, I have to appear as a normal infant. The tension of this duel must not gradually escalate. It must maintain a static line and then suddenly surge. That moment of inflection should be my victory and his defeat. What was that just now? Try it again. He jabbed his sword. Just like flicking his arm. I said try it again. His nagging tone and face. There is appropriate complacency and curiosity in him. If you don't, I'll come. He held his sword with a broad smile. He took a big step forward. Once more, the initial rush of the first step. Now. Duh. A small intake of breath. I called forth Parian from the mere mental image of opening a file sufficed. Just like opening a note filled with the desired content, I invited the desired memory into my body. Amidst the short circuit, Parian's energy radiated, intertwining with mana. It surged from my core to every corner of my body. A novel magical substance that amplified every aspect of a human being. It first targeted the central nervous system, honing the senses to an extreme degree, then extended to the limbs, boosting the muscle strength to a formidable level. Whoosh! Just like that, my senses became so acute that even the texture of the wind could be discerned. Time seemed to crawl. The acceleration of thought, the deceleration of the world. Rustle, rustle. The sound of an opponent's footsteps trampling the pavement. A cloud of dust rising in their wake. Zzzt. I could see his steps, which were fleeting moments ago. I didn't just see it, I mirrored it. It was the same initial step as my opponent. I leapt, and his eyes widened. Seizing his moment of panic, I swung my sword. He raised his sword in response. The tip of my blade carried a hint of wind. Whoosh! My sword slashed downward from above, his from below. Two identical trajectories, just reversed in direction. Clang! I released my grip on the sword. The blade, freed from my grasp, hovered in the air. My opponent's eyes were fixated on it. However, I never intended to fight him with a sword in the first place. I took a second step, diving into my opponent's arms. With a mental flip of a switch, I transitioned this battle to hand-to-hand combat and grappling. Gerdash! I seized his right arm and hoisted him up. His elongated body soared, as if uprooted. A dazed grunt escaped his mouth as he spun through the air. Bang! I slammed him onto the pavement. SSSSSSSS. The dust spread like a fog. I could clearly see the particles scattering across the stage. However, there was no time to waste. The sequence of movements must be smooth and swift. So before he could regain his footing, before the dust could settle, before his guard was back up. Wham! I yanked my arm back. A spray of saliva splashed from his mouth. It was more than a mere dislocation. It should have been a joint-shattering impact. But it was odd. My opponent didn't even scream. Dudug. Instead, he exclaimed, lifting his leg and delivering a powerful blow to my head. Thud. My skull rattled from the impact. After a momentary stagger, he was back on his feet. 10 paces away, he was staring at me, clutching his shoulder. Wow. My arm's dislocated. He stated, moving his body in a demonstrative manner, his right arm writhing like a soft-bodied creature. Dislocated, really dislocated. Wow, see. With a smirk on his face, he flaunted his dangling arm to the entire mercenary group. There was no response. Just silence. Neither our side nor theirs had fully grasped the sequence and conclusion of the brief battle. I can't believe this. My arm's broken. Regardless. I can't move now. My vision keeps swirling. It's definitely a concussion. A kick to the jaw. That single blow had me TKO'd. How about it? Suddenly, my adversary asked the bald deputy captain. The deputy captain silently shook his head. Really? He cleared his throat, his expression tightening slightly. Sorry. I wanted to pass you. His dislocated arm remained the same, but the atmosphere he exuded had changed. The attitude of dealing with a child was completely gone. The gun had already been exposed. He said no. So, I can't. He grinned, eyebrows arching. But I'll remember you. Shiniskal. A faint blue mana emerged from his feet. Good job. That was the end. The man seemed to bounce a step off the ground, then drove his shoulder straight into my chest. Ugh. In an instant. I fainted from that simple body blow. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. After the short event ended. The highway leading to the capital, Edsala. The truck carrying the Blue Claw mercenaries was quietly running. When Libra's master built the orphanage, it was a 10 million Ren property. The mission ordered by Derek was easily a success. The disguise was not discovered. The orphanage was to be closed, and Derek's commercial district would be built in its place. It was 10 million for 100 years. But in 10 years, the land price has increased 30 times. Just the land value is at least 300 million Ren. I wonder what's happening to the country. The vice captain in the driver's seat glanced sideways, grumbling about the land price for no reason. A man with a cast on his arm. The guy, who still seemed a bit out of it, didn't seem to be listening at all. Is your arm okay? The vice captain asked. The man Kajin only raised his eyebrows without saying a word. According to the detailed examination, the completely crushed shoulder bone fragments were tangled with the muscles and needed intensive magical treatment. Even for the vice captain, this was ridiculous. It was Kajin, not anyone else. Anyway, vice captain, did you get any information on him? Ordinary. Uskal. His ancestors, grandparents, and great-grandparents are all from a house loyal to Libra. Do you know what his future dream is? The deputy captain chuckled, a smirk playing on his lips. Kajin glanced his way, curiosity piqued. What is it? A knight of Libra. Seems he wants to devote his whole life to Libra. Kajin couldn't help but snort at that. Pfft. That's the problem with orphans. They think they're inherently good because they're raised and nurtured. He rolled down the passenger side window. A cool breeze swirled in. Libra's lucky to have picked up a great sword from the orphanage. At that remark, the deputy captain raised an eyebrow. I wonder. Not sure if they even know what a great sword he is. Rather, that butler Henry was singing your praises, Kajin. Said your acting was top-notch. Acting? Kajin pulled a cigarette from his pocket, a look of disdain crossing his face as he placed it between his lips. Figures. They can read books and manage accounts, but they're too blind to see the real world. He exhaled a cloud of smoke out the car window. Anyway, I'll remember the name. The deputy captain gave a silent laugh. It had been a while since Kajin had been like this. It reminded him of their university days when Kajin was driven by competitiveness. Why are you so fixated on being caught off guard? Off guard. Psychological warfare was a key part of any battlefield. But Kajin wasn't thinking of such subtleties. No. That guy, he's got a knack for observing and mimicking. Observing and mimicking. Yeah. Pure talent. An innate ability you can't buy. His body just moves on its own. The first move that guy made when he drew his sword and charged. It was unmistakably Kajin's. There are a few people born with such a gift. It's called look-see-do. But I think he's more than that. Mimicking movements is one thing, but to properly channel power into them is another. Kajin chuckled, continuing his train of thought. That fool Henry seems to have missed it even with his eyes wide open, but I'm not sure about the other one. The other one? The deputy captain echoed, puzzled. Do you mean Zia? The youngest one isn't interested in the succession race. She won't see a penny of the inheritance. Yeah, that's probably true. I'm just curious. Kajin leaned back in his seat, gazing out the window. Anyway, with that kind of talent, we'll likely cross paths again soon. The night sky was high above them. The stars embedded within it poured down in a breathtaking display. Chapter 6, Young Hearts. Young Hearts. When I opened my eyes again, it was Tuesday. The match had been on Monday, so I had been unconscious for a whole day. Is it fun? This place was the infirmary inside the orphanage. I, who was hospitalized, asked the kids who were going beep beep on the opposite bed. Ugh. Barry and Belle. The two were sitting head to head, playing a game on a smartphone. They had been like that since I woke up. They seemed to have explored the smartphone on their own while it was ownerless, progressing from UTV to mobile games. Game over. No. Ugh. Barry is dead. I smirked. Then Barry and Belle looked at me. Their innocent eyes made me feel embarrassed. I scratched the back of my neck and said, I'm sorry. I had a good run, but I lost. To be honest, I couldn't help it. Who would have known that such a monster would come? But still. Promises are meant to be broken. Lies are meant to be told. This is the way of the world. Shin was really cool. Cool. Barry and Belle showed their teeth and laughed. There was no sadness or disappointment in their smiles towards me. Thanks to that, I froze for a moment. Like, the bad guy swoops in, bang. Bang. Barry moved her arms around with an unnecessarily rich expression. Right away. Belle joined in. Dunham. I felt awkward for no reason. I shrugged my shoulders and ran my fingers through my hair. But I couldn't keep my promise. I pointed to the smartphone in Belle and Barry's hands. I'll give you that. The eyes of the two kids widened in an instant. A current shot up. Their hair stood on end as if they had become human static electricity. Oh, whoa dash. Dot. Belle's cheeks swelled with anticipation, but Barry bit her lip. No. Then she calmly shook her head. She pushed the smartphone back to me. It's okay. Why? We'll lose it when we leave our house. It was a very realistic reason. Too much for a child's mind. At an age when it's not enough to fill only with what you want, without worrying about losing it. Dot. Seeing my expression, Barry laughed bashfully. Barry is okay. It's not that fun anymore dash. You're thinking wrong. I pushed her forehead with my finger. I forcibly placed the smartphone in her palm. It's not about not taking it because you might lose it, it's about getting stronger so it wouldn't be taken. Why give up without even trying? Duh. Suddenly, Barry's eyes dimmed slightly. She looked up at me quietly. I spoke as if to grip her gaze. Try holding it tight. Then strength entered Barry's small fingers. The smartphone, which was too big for her to hold with both hands, was wrapped in her chubby fingers. Even if you're weak now, you can grow stronger, so it won't be taken away. Dot. Barry bit her lip without a word. She seemed to be holding back her tears, but her cheeks inflated like bread. Her eyes turned watery, and her expression twisted. She was on the verge of crying. If you understand, take it and go. I have things to do. As soon as Barry nodded her head, she darted outside. Belle followed her sister without understanding why. Watching them, I let out a sigh. I've grown fond of them for no reason. Pointlessly. But well, we're parting soon anyway. I flopped down on the bed. Ah. Damn, it hurts. My physical condition was worse than I thought. The side effects of Parian were as expected, no, more severe. I shouldn't use this unless necessary. I felt it almost instinctively. If I use it more than twice a week, I will definitely die. I fell asleep again in no time. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The next day. When I woke up late and went out to the corridor, the dormitory of the youth section of the orphanage had turned into a party venue. What's this? I stood dumbfounded and looked around. A closing party? Like when a store goes bankrupt, and all the remaining items are sold off cheaply. But the supervisor and Dent, and even the guys in the youth section, all seemed strange. Each of them had a smile on their lips. Hey, Shin. Then Telrun called me. Everyone in the lobby turned to look at me. I asked him. What's this party about? Telrun grinned and spoke. We're celebrating because we're moving the orphanage to the countryside. Countryside. My eyes widened slightly. Yeah. It's not a complete shutdown. Moving to the countryside. That was a story that didn't exist in the future. Not only was it completely shut down, but the orphans here were scattered all over the continent. But it seems like the scale will be much smaller. Probably only kids up to 9 or 10 years old will go. We'll be independent as we are. Telrun gave a small smile. The nameless guys in the youth section also approached me one by one. They awkwardly started conversations and sent awkward glances. Their meaningless actions contained gratitude. There was goodwill. There was also regret. It's thanks to you. Telrun, who said that, seemed to reminisce for a moment and then looked at me. You were amazing. You were so fast, weren't you? Honestly, it's almost like you won, right? Your opponent was 2 dash. When was this decided? I cut off Telrun's words. Then Dent, who had approached unnoticed, answered instead. It was decided at the Libra headquarters this morning. We found out in the morning. The kids are taking the bus that comes at lunch, and we're staying here until it is demolished. But why is it thanks to me? I was puzzled. Honestly, I was dumbfounded. Why was this sudden development because of me? The youngest one. Lady Zia herself mentioned you. She said she was impressed by your fighting spirit. Zia, me? My mouth fell open in surprise. Dent laughed and patted my shoulder. Surprised, huh? Well, I did tell you. If you work hard, you'll be rewarded. But where's your luggage? We have to go now. Huh? Your luggage, I said. I don't have anything like that. I shook my head. There's really nothing I need to take with me. No, wait. There is one thing. The Iskal sword that has been handed down from my grandfather's generation. Well, I can just pick that up from the dormitory later. Dent said. All right then. The bus that will take the kids is coming soon. Let's head to the playground. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The playground of the orphanage. The eldest son, Derek, was indeed swift. Already, architects and technicians were gathering, discussing the demolition method. I sat in the stands with Telrun, watching them. The kids are coming out. Small children began to line up and come out from the infant dormitory. Wearing yellow hats on their heads, yellow bags on their backs, each holding hands tightly, their heads bobbing up and down, they looked like little penguins. The playground they walked onto was now filled with laughter. Their unique, youthful voices were ticklish. It was as if they were going on a trip. Among those 200 or so children, there were two who were specifically looking for me. Belle and Barry. They ran towards me together. Shin, we're not parting. We're just moving to a different house. Yes, yes. I translate it like this to make it cute. Originally. Maha maha, right away, but not cute enough. Barry and Belle, who quickly approached, smiled, showing their teeth. I looked at Barry's neck. A cute handkerchief with a smartphone was hanging on it. They made a loop and attached it to the smartphone, and then put a handkerchief on it to make a necklace. I see. Barry laughed bashfully. What are you going to do now, Shin? Don't know. I'll do something. Oh. Doing something. Oh. While Barry and Belle were admiring, 3 large buses entered from the entrance of the orphanage. The bus is here. Go now. There's no time. Yes, sir. As if they had watched some cartoon movie yesterday, Barry and Belle made a strange salute. Then they tied the handkerchief necklace tightly again. Call us. Laughing while tapping the smartphone that was now theirs, the children took 1 step, 2 steps, and started to move away with small strides. I stared at them quietly. They're really leaving now, huh? Just then, Telrun approached me. Hey, Shin. This is the correct phone number, right? He asked, showing me a piece of paper with a phone number hastily written on it. Yeah. That's a relief. At least we can keep in touch with them. It seemed like Telrun intended to maintain his connection with this place. Are you going to do the same? I thought for a moment, but soon shook my head. I'm busy. I have to go to college. I don't have time for things like keeping in touch. What? Wow, really? You're fucking heartless. Telrun pouted and turned away. Alright everyone, sit down, make sure to fasten your seat belts as soon as you get in. Just then, Barry and Belle sat in the very back of the bus. They turned around in their seats and waved at me through the window. They moved their small lips as much as they could, chattering away. Bye. I waved back at them. Barry and Belle laughed heartily. Soon, The bus, filled with children, closed its doors. The noise and laughter that had filled the playground disappeared. In the ensuing silence, the bus started its engine. Vroom. Fortunately, the children wouldn't have to see our home being demolished. We could avoid saying goodbye. And so, it might be okay for them to leave for a far-off place. Because the young hearts of children can find hope and laugh at any moment. It's interesting. A story so different from the past I knew. Today, Libra had preserved a tiny bit of humanity. Was this change brought about by me? Shiniskal. As the bus slowly started to move, Dent called out to me. He was already shedding tears as he watched the bus. You can become a better person than your father. His trembling voice conveyed a sentiment that was somewhat comforting. Not like my father, but better. Chapter 7, Dream. Dream. Index Magic High School, or simply, is one of the most prestigious magic high schools on the continent. As such, the admission requirements are as challenging. Of course, the children of the powerful Edsala families can gain admission relatively easily, but commoners must fiercely hone their skills and compete on merit. So, how could I, a patient with demonic leukemia, have been admitted here? Firstly, the selection process is a bit unusual. Being an orphan, I was considered under the social welfare category. In addition, I created cheat sheets with perfect score in theory, top tier in essay writing, and lower middle tier in practical skills. Admitted. When I passed the entrance exam, it felt as though I had the world in my hands, but reality was not so soft. In the society of elites, an orphan from a foster home were looked down upon. Those from wealthy families naturally did so, and those from poor families desperately offered them up as scapegoats. Looking back, it seems there was no one else who was as much of a human shield as I was. Bald from chemotherapy. A scar from brain tumor surgery. An orphan from a foster home. A small body. A timid personality. I ticked all 5 of those boxes. It's been a while. Various thoughts came to mind as I looked at the entrance of Index. I stepped onto the campus. It was still vacation, so the inside was empty. I slowly walked around the schoolyard, looking around. In every corner of the landscape, I could see my past self, walking hunched over with my head down. I had nothing back then. No money, no ability, no family, no confidence. I was shackled from head to toe. It really is the past. I'm now a third-year student. It's time to choose whether to remain a high school graduate or to challenge myself in college. The me before the regression naturally chose to graduate high school. I had half given up on life. Because of the cancer of the magic's core. Even after overcoming diseases like leukemia and brain tumors, which have less than a 10% survival rate over 5 years. I couldn't dare to challenge an incurable disease with a 0% survival rate over 12 years. It's fucking big. Anyway, the Index campus is vast. A total of 20 buildings are lined up around the central clock tower, and students collectively refer to all of them as the dormitory. I aimlessly wandered between these buildings. Without realizing it, I ended up in a familiar place. Old building. Ah, this place. This place, which suddenly immerses me in sentimentality, is the most run-down building at the corner of the Magic High School campus. A deserted building devoid of students. At the basement of this place, which doesn't even look like an Index facility because it's adjacent to the back mountain, there's a small room called Maintenance Dormitory. There's an adult there who I can trust more than anyone else at the Magic High School. The old man. Old man Beldhose. He should still be here. The thought of meeting him somehow excites me. If I meet that old man, who doesn't exist in the future, it feels like my heart will momentarily become as young as my body. I entered the old building. Walking on the wooden floor covered in too many thorns, I went straight down to the basement. Ah, look at the stale air. Drip drip. Water leaking from the ceiling, stone steps heavily stained with dirt. Each step echoed with a cold sound. At the end of it, a basement of about 33 square meters, as if a ghost might appear. What are you doing here? A sharp-looking old man stared at me as I descended. Mr. Belthos. He spoke nonchalantly. Weren't you supposed to graduate? I almost choked, but I responded as if it was nothing. I'm going to college. I sat on the sofa. My butt sank deep. It was almost like a swimming pool. What are you doing? The old man was staring at something on the table. A puzzle. Suddenly a puzzle? I sank into the sofa and glanced at the old man. If you have something to say, say it. The old man seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. Well, that is, can I ask for just one piece of advice? No. Don't bother. But you said if I have something to say, say it. I take it back. Belthos lowered his head, but it only made me more determined. At this moment, the only person I could confide in, even for a moment, was him. I wet my lips and began to speak. Sir, what would you do if you had an enemy? An enemy. The word might sound a bit childish, but I couldn't describe it any other way. Libra killed me. They killed my father. They destroyed everything I had. And yet, I'd get along with them. The old man answered without hesitation. But they're an enemy. And? What kind of enemy? Well, I scratched the back of my neck. How much do I really hate Libra? How much can I fuel the fire I've kept in my heart? An enemy I want to destroy, even if I have to stake my life on it. Like an enemy of my family and my life. Then the old man shrugged. All the more reason. Leaning back in his chair, arms crossed, staring at the puzzle on the table. The more desperately you want to take them down, the less likely you'll be able to do so from the outside. He turned his head and spoke bluntly to me. Become the most trustworthy person to your enemy, become the most important person, and then destroy their heart. This is the best strategy for revenge against an enemy. I was silent for a moment. The best strategy to destroy an enemy. If you can endure, if you can be patient, it's the best way. A gentleman's revenge is never too late, even if it takes 30 years. Really? An inexplicable smile crossed his face. What a coincidence. I was thinking something similar. Having already clashed head-on with them, I know. I know because I couldn't make a single scratch even with all my soul. A deeply rooted tree cannot be uprooted without rotting the very core. Can I stay here for a while? I don't have a home. The old man didn't say anything. It must have been consent. I approached him and took a quick look. But why suddenly a puzzle? The old man didn't say anything. Ah, the kids left this. Asking me to do it. The audacity is truly something. Daring to ask a favor of an old man who's busy with his own life. They said they'd give me 700 ren if I complete it. There are a lot of kids who don't know the value of money. So much for respecting elders, huh? The old man's monthly wage must be around 1,500 ren. What's the picture supposed to be? See for yourself. The old man pointed to a piece of paper at the corner of his desk. It was a famous portrait. It's the Lady of D. Univis. Do you know how to do puzzles? It's 8,000 pieces. I've never tried, but I might be able to do it. I have some faith in myself. I took in the image of the completed puzzle, a famous painting. Just in case, I also ran my palm over it, then sat across from the old man. And then, 1 piece. 2 pieces. 3 pieces. Click click click. My hands moved on their own, and the puzzle started to come together. There was no need to specifically look for the corners. Just following where my hand went, without hesitation, I matched the pieces of the puzzle. The old man asked with wide eyes. "How are you so good at this?" I answered with a small smile. "I'm not sure." Before I knew it, part of the picture was complete, and the purple eyes of the lady were looking at me. I murmured as I met her gaze. "It's like my body remembers." Asterisk asterisk asterisk. As soon as I finished the puzzle, I stopped by the main building of Index. I knocked on the door of the Office of Academic Affairs and opened it. A few staff members were sitting in front of computers. I approached one of them. "I came to apply for the College Board." The College Board. It's a mandatory process for admission to a magic college, supervised and conducted by the Continental University Association over a year. Magic high school students who aspire to attend a magic college must participate, and through this, the grades and talents of all magic high school students across the continent are ranked. The qualification for participation is those who have completed more than 3 years of education at a magic high school. Most participants are in their 4th year, often referred to as seniors, as they conduct the College Board in their senior year. Please show your student ID." I handed over my student ID. The staff member tilted her head. "Your average grade is D-, huh?" "Yes." The quota per grade at Index is 400–500 students, but among them, only around 100 participate in the College Board. With just an Index diploma, you can make a decent living, so many don't feel the need to stress about going to college. The staff member asked with a doubtful tone. "Can you handle it? Most of them will have grades over B." "Of course. I don't want such a carefree life. Whether I walk a straight path or not, my lifespan is short. I don't know when my terminal illness will kill me. So, if I'm on my way to the afterlife anyway, well, taking down a big shot with me as a travel companion is my life's primary goal." The College Board registration fee is 300 Ren, and the tuition fee is 5,000 Ren. But the tuition fee is 5,000 Ren. The cost of living is insane. I scratched the back of my neck. Can I pay the tuition fee later? I can pay the registration fee now. That's possible. However, if you drop out in the middle, there will be no refund. Yes. For now, I took out 300 Ren from my pocket. The reward for the completing the old man's puzzle was 700 Ren, dividing that 50-50. Shiniskal. Your application has been processed. Bang. The clerk stamped my student ID. The black ink read. Yes. But, The clerk spoke to me as I was about to leave. How about getting a haircut? A haircut? Yes. The curriculum of the College Board changes every year, so I don't know what will happen, but there are quite a few old-fashioned people among the staff. They don't like long hair. I twisted my hair with my fingers. Long hair is one thing, but it definitely looks ragged because I've never trimmed it. Yes. I suppose so. The closest hair salon to Index. As soon as I opened the door and entered, the designer rushed towards me with sparkling eyes. "Oh my, dear customer, your hair is so long. Are you a student at the Index?" Please, have a seat. I sat down awkwardly in the barber's chair. It's always been the most uncomfortable seat for me. I have a slight aversion to having a razor near my neck. How would you like your cut? There's no need to cut it too fancy. I was about to give a vague answer when suddenly, I noticed the clippers on the table. Clippers. Seeing them, a certain idea came to mind. I asked the hairdresser. Can I see those clippers? Pardon? The clippers. Oh. Yes. She seemed not to understand, so I reached out and grabbed the clippers. I even turned them on. VRRRRRRRR. What are you doing? Ah, nothing. Just trying to see how far I can utilize my. Just like my remembered and summoned Parian, I was curious if these simple machines could do the same. After all, the original notepad has a similar function. And I closed my eyes. Drawing up the power of mana, I murmured with intent. Memory. Kuduk. The mana contracted weakly. It meant something had happened. Now, to load again. VRRRRRRRR. Oh. Then, mana surged in my palm. It was an intangible, vibrating, blue clipper. With that hand, I swept through my hair. My blonde hair was cut off in clumps. Dudhum. I alternated between looking at my hand and the mirror. Interesting. It was pure admiration. Then someone made a small noise next to me. The hairdresser was looking at me with a slightly stunned expression. Ah, right. I quickly sat back down in the chair. Please shave it. But don't shave it too much. I have a scar on my scalp. So, make it blend in well with a 2-block style on top, about 11 millimeters. Something like a fashionable buzz cut, or something along